Sometimes in life, things just don't turn out as expected. Take, for instance, the seeds I sowed a few weeks ago. None of them germinated. Not one. Well, there was one tiny little sprout, but that's it. The only thing I've been able to grow with any success is sprouting my turnip. Now, as disappointing as this was, in the grand scheme of things, it really wasn't much. I'll simply wait another week or two and then direct sow some things and try again. It's all part of gardening. But sometimes in life, we do occasionally find ourselves disappointed. This little garden I have off my kitchen is a result of one of those situations. When we purchased this home, I had plans to landscape the entire yard. I wanted a picket fence around the small front yard, and the bare backyard would be transformed into part of our home that we could enjoy in the warm months. French doors from the dining room out to a deck off the back, then a lower level with seating for an outdoor living area. Beyond that, some raised beds for a kitchen garden with a pea gravel walk that led to a fire pit surrounded by Adirondack chairs, and then a wildflower path into the woods at the very back. Maybe one day some fruit trees, even a hive. But it wasn't long before I started to realize that I might need to rein my grand plans in just a little. I didn't mind, as it would require me to exercise my creativity. I saw it as a challenge. But as summer approached, we began having issues with our well. Intermittent water became no water at all. And quickly we realized we would need to re-drill a new well, something that was a massive, unforeseen expense. It was then clear that there would be no budget for anything else. No outdoor living space, no raised beds, not even a scaled back version of it. Water is non-negotiable. Everything else was superficial and would have to wait. In full honesty, this was hard for me to accept. I had left gardens that were so well established and full of every one of my most favorite things. There were white pinnacle hydrangeas that reached our second floor windows and white beach roses everywhere. There were white lilacs each spring and an entire bed of fragrant lily of the valley that, when in bloom, made the yard smell divine. There was wisteria climbing on the front porch and an ancient climbing hydrangea that grew up the back balcony. But here there was literally nothing, a completely bare yard. At first, I didn't even mind so much as it was a blank canvas. I was going to turn it into something beautiful. So when it became clear that nothing would be done, I really struggled. For a time, I really had to fight against being bitter. I even had to stop watching a few vlogs that I watch because seeing their gorgeous greenhouses and full gardens was a bit like salt on my wounded expectations. But after some wrestling with it, one day I just said enough. Bitterness is a thief of joy, and comparison is a robber of contentment. Bitterness takes root like a weed and needs to be rooted out. Little seeds of thanksgiving here and there. It eventually blossoms into joyfulness, but it's a choice. I could wallow in my disappointment or let it go and find a way to be grateful for what I had and make the most of it. So, what could I do with what I had? Well, I really wanted a little garden. Maybe I couldn't do whole raised beds, but what if for now I just had a small little plot off my kitchen? I had seen a garden tour of Time, a boutique hotel in the Cotswolds, and in their kitchen garden they had woven sticks together to make a sort of dividing wall, a wattle fence. I loved the way that this looked, and in my mind, with a little practice, I could do it with branches we found on the roadside. The porch in the front of our home runs along the front and then steps back and runs along the kitchen. In that little step back section, there's a path to the steps. If I walled in that little area, it would make the perfect little potager. So that afternoon, I just sectioned it off and started ripping up grass. The boys helped me turn it all over and get it somewhat leveled and cleaned and ready for planting. Then, as a Mother's Day gift a week later, Ryan and the boys built me the wattle fence around it. I added my bird bath and a rose bush I had brought from our old house to train to climb the porch. Later, I did go and buy a second David Austin rose when it came on sale, as well as some herbs and a few starter cabbages and kales. I even planted some beans and some sweet peas, and even some dahlias that I had gotten from roots. That fall, I added some boxwoods from clearance when the garden centers closed and planted a few handfuls of spring bulbs to enjoy this year. I even planted a row of white hydrangeas along the front porch, which I had used my birthday money to purchase. The point is, with very little and the help of a patient husband, I was able to create a small space that has brought much joy over the last year. It's not an elaborate raised garden with a glass house and a sitting area. I don't have thousands of dollars to fill it with whatever my heart desires. But when those first few white muscari began emerging, or I realized my one Desmunda rose survived the winter and is now covered in buds, or when the 3 little sprigs of lily of the valley came up as 5, or the herbs doubled their size, I realized I can find as much joy as I desire in my garden. I spent our first beautiful Saturday cleaning it out and adding soil. I even drove to the garden center in town and picked out 1 small little white Star Magnolia tree and 2 pots of beautiful Hellebores, 2 things I have been wanting to add for a long time to a garden. It will be years before the magnolia is anything substantial, but seeing even just a few little blossoms on it makes me happy. And once again, I find myself with a blank canvas. It's a small canvas, but I have lots of seeds and time, and with a little patience, some resilience, and some hope, it will eventually become something abundant and beautiful. Deuteronomy 26 verse 11a says, "And thou shalt rejoice in every good thing which the Lord thy God hath given unto thee, and unto thine house,